Hi, everyone. How are you doing? Thanks for coming to join me today. As you can tell, today is, I don't even know what today is, to be honest with you, but I know it's in August, right? We're at the end of August. Um, Definitely nice to see you guys. I have not been able to stream as much as I would love to do. But today I wanted to take some time because it is my day off. And I actually didn't have as many errands as I usually have. So I wanted to take the time to come see you guys and kind of discuss compartmentalizing when it comes to relationships. And one of the big questions I get asked a lot is having two boyfriends or more than two boyfriends or girlfriends or whatever you have, is that something that is hard to withstand when it comes to emotions? Because one of the top fears of being in multiple relationships is having to deal with the emotional ups and downs. And what if somebody's mad, or what if you're angry, or what if you're not getting along with one of your partners? And what does that look like for the other partners? And will that really, you know, disrupt your relationship in general? And so I think a lot of us are in our minds like, oh yeah, you know what? I don't have those kind of problems, when I have these relationships. And then some of us do. But what I mean by that is there are a lot of people who just, they have these relationships in their, let's say they have one boyfriend or one girlfriend, and then they go off and they add someone else. A lot of times those partnerships are just I don't want to say surface, but a lot of them don't need as much attention. Um, when it comes to people who are poly, a lot of times the ones who've been practicing for a while are the ones who really like to have those deeper relationships. They want more than that. The intimacy they would like with their partners is a lot deeper. So when you have relationships where you only hang out with them, and they only, Tuesday and Wednesday, and they get to see movies with you, and you sleep with them, they're only getting the good part of you, if that makes sense. And that is where I think a lot of people say, oh, well, it's like cheating, but just with permission. And I could see how that could be something that could be confusing. Because, yeah, if you were in a monogamous relationship and you were cheating, you would be able to come and go into the other person's life with only having to really deal with the positive. And that's what the issue is with cheaters. So they're in this delusion of having this great experience with this person, like, oh, that's, I've been cheating on my boyfriend with this guy, or I've been cheating on my girlfriend with this lady, and they were so much better than the person I'm with now. And a lot of that is because you don't have to deal with the obligations of being in a full relationship. So in your mind, all you're getting is the fun times, the hanging out, the money spending, all the fun, exciting things about being in a relationship, the excitement, while you're in your relationship at home, or where your main relationship is, you don't you don't always get the positive. You may have 3, 4 weeks of bad times. You might have some arguments. You guys maybe you live together or whatever, and you have to deal with the actual real life of things, which is not always pleasant. There are, bad things that happen, things get tight or whatever it is. You have to actually experience being in a relationship where there is the bad and the good. But when you're cheating, you only get to experience the good parts. And then after a while, people get tired because they're like, oh my gosh, like I want them all the time. And that's where a lot of those relationships end. But when you're in a poly relationship, it should be where we're having full relationships with each person. Now, some people have less and they only want to do, like I said, well, a lot of times those relationships end, who say they're poly, and they're not, or they think they're poly, but they're not doing it correctly because we're here, right? We do poly right. So when you're in a relationship with someone and it's very, very much so like cheating, what ends up happening is the same thing that happens in monogamy when you're actually cheating is you'll date this person, you get all the positive, and then they want more and you can't give it to them because you only signed up for part time, or they want they want to only get the good parts of you and they never want to experience anything bad. And what I mean by that is bad. Bad could be, you know what, I'm just sad today and I'm depressed, or I'm just having a bad week. And that's what I'm saying. And they are like, oh well, that's unfortunate. I guess I won't hang out with you this week. It's not like, okay, I'll sit there and we'll have a discussion. Let's see what we can work out. That is the poly part. that a lot of people miss when they hear poly is that it's just this fun fest free for all, right? And it's not. It's a lot of hard work. It's individual relationships that are compartmentalized to some degree. And we'll get a little bit deeper into that part too. But yeah, when it comes to these relationships and bonding, we want to be able to give the people we're with the full experience of being with us, not a part-time experience. And I will put this out there because I don't want anybody to be like, oh, but wait, I have, a connection with my husband or wife, and then we added on poly as another thing, and like I'm really dedicated to all these things within my family and children, but I do have a partner outside of that, and we don't get to hang out all the time. We get to hang out maybe 3 times a week, so I can't, you know, give them as much time. That still it is poly, and the reason why I'm saying that is because there are people who date and they just not able to give that amount of time. And that is a plus in being poly, especially for busy people. I tended tend to notice that the people that I dated when I changed to poly was that I'm very, very okay with people who don't have a lot of time. And when people don't have a lot of time, I'm okay with that. So I tend to date very busy people because time does not equal love to me. So if you only have 4 days a week that you can give me some time, maybe a couple hours here, there, I'm okay. It's more about the experience for me, not necessarily the time. And so there are people who do different things. And we all have to know where we kind of blend and who we match with. So remember, we want to make good matches. So that works for me. But there are people who have that, and that's still poly. They're only able to give a few hours to that partner, and that's who they're investing in. Is this person they only give like 3 or 4 hours to. I would say that is still poly, because what we do is try to give them the experience, because sometimes I might have a bad day. I'll still call them. I might let them know. I check in. But when it comes to like these long extended periods of time over, and I might not have that, or they may not have that. And that's okay. So a lot of people, the benefit of being poly and having that is that busy people can also have real meaningful relationships um, that don't as have to be as catered to in that way. And hello everybody who came into the chat. I'm on my phone, and I just want y'all to know I cannot see the chat all the time, so I apologize. Let me get over here to comment, take gas mask. So hello everyone there, and then I'm also coming on my computer here too. But yes, so when it comes to that, absolutely, I feel like when we have more than one partner, compartmentalizing. Now we're going to go kind of deeper into that compartmentalizing. Now, when it comes to having different partners, I believe, depending on what kind of poly you are, obviously, I think some works better for others. When you're in a polygamy relationship, I believe that whole dynamic is a lot different because the women, which women usually do, is they lean on each other, right? And they usually lean on each other. They're more group oriented. Women move as a flock. We're group motivated and organized to the most degrees. I think of the sisterhood or whatever. Women move like in flocks and groups. Men move more individual. And so with that, a lot of times there's a safety net. Not always, but a lot of times there's a safety net for women to have someone to converse with about this one man. Now, when it's men, I think that it is a little bit different because even though they're in a polyandry relationship with you, a lot of times if their bond is not there yet, or they would like to be a little bit more separate, they don't have that brotherhood to connect. But there are some polyandry relationships where they have a lot of communication amongst the men, and they use each other as brothers for support and conversation, and they work together for that bigger plan. And that is, even for me, that is a wonderful goal, is that we all work and function towards a common goal and each person does their part. And we can get to that another day, but when it's men, obviously they always say like they're supposed to be a leader. A lot of people bring up the leader thing, and when they're leading, they're like, oh, 3 different men may have different, leading styles and blah blah. Yes, but when we're all at the same goal and then we all have a role to play, a lot of times those all come together. So that it could be wonderful. But compartmentalizing, when it comes to having these separate relationships, I think it's very, very important to kind of what is for a woman is to figure out um, where your emotional space is, because women, we all know, are not known for having the greatest control over our emotions. I'm not saying no one has control over their emotions. I'm saying for the most part, we are emotional creatures, and a lot of decisions we make are based on our feelings. And that is where it's from. Now, logical people, yes, wonderful. Men are more logical. So when you have women making more emotional decisions or making decisions based on the emotions, it's definitely a different feel. So as a person who is compartmentalizing, we want to go ahead and first figure out, you know, how we want to communicate with our partners. Okay. And I'm sorry because I'm sending out a message on Instagram too, because I forgot to tell them I was live, and um, to do that, and I have to do that. But yeah, you first off figure out how you're communicating with your partners. A lot of people don't communicate the same, and that is a big thing. You know what I'm saying? Um, some people like low communication, some people like high communication, some people like um to give out lots of facts, some people like to, gently give out information because they're nervous. Um, you know, it depends. But for the most part, when you're sorry, I'm live. But for the most part, we want to find out how people communicate as your partners. And then also remember that each relationship is separate. That is very, very, very important. Um, I think that a lot of people who are in these relationships, like I said, imagine man or women groups, um, because a lot of the time you want to function as a whole, right? So like, oh, I'm upset with him. You tell your girlfriend, and your girlfriend's like, oh, okay, I'm sorry. Then she feels like a middle person because now, you're telling her how you feel about your boyfriend, even though you share the boyfriend. It's still kind of like a weird place to be in. You're sharing a boyfriend, but it's like, I'm mad at him, and now why can't you be mad at him too? Because we move as a flock, as a unit, and that is a problem sometimes. So when you have women in those polygamous conversations, they'll say like, when one woman's mad at you, it's like all of a sudden they all mad at you, and a lot of that has to do with, like I was saying before, is that group mentality, the sisterhood that comes upon itself. So when we're in those kind of relationships, you move more as a whole. We have conversations. Sometimes you could feel like you're the middle person when there's an argument, and that can be an okay thing. But then at the same voice, it can be a bad thing because no one wants to feel like, oh my God, like I'm trying to keep the peace, and I don't want to do no arguing and stuff. And that's what I was talking about with making sure the communication styles. Um, we're not all in the same boat here. Sorry, I'm just gonna grab the video link here to share, and then I'll come back over here. So at the end of the day, I think a lot of times we want to, find a way to communicate with our partners, and we want to be able to share those moments with everyone, right? I mean, with our group. So you're upset with your partner. You make the other one feel like she's the middle person. How do you fix that? How do and I know people are like, oh, well, we're not always poly. I know that, guys. Monogamous people who watch the show too. But for that most part, when you can even feel like that as a friend, like if you're a friend with a married couple, oh my God. Being a friend with a married couple is very, very similar because while it's like you have to pick a side, right? And you're like, I don't want to pick a side. Like you both are cool. And there's a lot of people been in that position. Well, that person is trying to, to calm the waters and make sure everybody's okay, but also hearing where everybody's coming from. And maybe they do pick a side in my mind. Hey, this one seems more logical. Maybe I can express that feeling. And sometimes being that interpreter is very, very important for your group, your polypod. So a lot of times that works for polygamy. That works. Now, when it's like polyandry, like myself, yes, I have had partners who there's been times with the guys not been on the same page about certain things, and it's not necessarily me, or but like maybe the way something was dealt with, or conversations. Well, I will say this: when we first started dating, I think when I first dated, started dating two who knew each other and kind of overheard, maybe they would overhear me talking to a partner on the phone. I ran into um I noticed that one of my partners, like if what say, okay, I was sitting here, calling my partner, and he got mad at me about something, or I did something that kind of upset him. He maybe get kind of loud at me or whatever, or he's talking to me or whatever, and having an argument with me, and I'm like, oh, okay. Well, my other partner maybe would hear that and be like, oh, I don't like how he talks to you. I mean, it happens. Having like, oh, well, he sounds really aggressive, or like, I don't really like how he talks to you. And it could be, a few things. You may not want anybody talking to his woman like that, and it's like they don't have any kind of, they didn't have that kind of connection. And it hasn't just been with the ones I'm dating now. It's just been in general. It's how it happened. And it's like, okay. And then I'm like, oh no, it's just an argument to have. And sometimes we have arguments or disagreements, and you know, they're emotional people too, and they can get upset with me, and they're allowed to have that space. And then we can have a conversation. But like when I'm in that moment with that one person, like you have to remember not to be, that upset. Like, oh, I don't like that. But it's okay. Just because it's just an argument. Just like if I had an argument with you, it's okay. We don't have to agree on everything, and we have conversations and work through those things. So I think that kind of was different when it comes to that. So now, and when I say compartmentalizing, there would be times where you would hear my partners who were transitioning say things like, you know what, like, what if you're like happy having fun with one partner and then you go hang out with the other partner a couple hours later? Like, I don't want to feel like your your fun is like because you were having a great time with that person. Now you're over here. Like, I'm not sure if it's like you're having fun with me or something else. And I thought that was very strange at first. I was like, well, no, like I'm happy in general. Like in general, if I was happy, it's just happy. But if someone else made me happy, that's fine. I'm just happy and I'm over here. And then whatever we're doing, whatever, we're just having a good time too. So the fun just continues, I suppose. But what happens if you're in a bad place, you had an argument with a partner, and then you go over to the other partner's house, or you go see the other partner, and then you're not happy. And so that would be a thing too. You have to learn to turn it off. And people are like, oh, that's crazy. That looks like Two Face. No. I would say it can be difficult for women who don't have a lot of control over their emotions. And yes, you want to, you might say, hey, yeah, we're kind of getting into it today. You can make a comment about what happened through your day because you're just talking about your day. But I think you have to also remember that when you go to a new space, new partner, it's a new place, new partner. Like, it's just their space. And so, like, being agitated and bringing it to them um, could as sometimes be a problem. So you want to be careful and mindful. And compartmentalizing, for me, maybe a lot easier because I work in a field where like it's. I have to remember like I go and I talk to customers. Like when I go home, I'm irritated or I get agitated in the kitchen or whatever, and I come out to the guests. The guests have that's not on them. And to me, to bring that energy to them when they're trying to have a good night and a nice dinner is not right because they came here to have a great time. They didn't come here to get my energy that's negative from another situation. And you gotta turn it off. It's still there. Like I'm still irritated. But how are you today? How was your day? Tell me more about what you did today. Because that's what I'm here for. I'm here to enjoy you in your moment. And then, yeah, if you want to ask me what's irritating me, oh yeah, you know what? But we don't have to talk about that. Now you might get to a point with your relationship where your partner might say, oh, I know it's wrong. And you tell them, okay, yeah, I'm a little bit wrong. But I will say when they're transitioning partners or haven't been in that relationship for a very long time, always talking about the negative of another partner, not only can always feel like, oh, you're always coming here when you're sad or mad, but it also feels like you're not giving that part of their special time that they have with you, especially if you're dating busy people. It's like you're not giving them the time. They only have a little bit of time. And if you don't have a lot of time with them, the time that you get to have with them should not be about another person because it makes that relationship seem like it's not as important or whatever. It diminishes that. So that is very, very important to try to figure out, what works best for those situations. So I believe, taking the time to really concentrate on that person in the moment is really important. Okay. So yeah, okay. I'll make sure I have everything up. But yeah, for most part, compartmentalizing for me, that is something I can do. Um, and it does differ from the partner to partner. So a newer partner, I may compartmentalize extreme. Like like they don't have to have interaction with anything else. Um, I used to do that. I don't like doing that anymore, and I'm very I don't like that because I feel like if my goal in life is to function as a whole group to whatever degree, that compartmentalizing gives them the delusion that it's only me and them. And when you can do that, because I used to be like, when I first started, I was like, okay, you date me, because I know I was dating men. So I was like, you date me. It's just me and you. Focus on just me and you. I'm poly. It's just me and you. When I want to hear it, it's me and you. That's what we focus on. And I would tell them like, it's not a very nice thing to say, but it was. I was just trying to, say what I'm saying is like, if you want me to, when I'm with you, like it's only us, you won't know. Like I can make it so you don't know that you don't have to think that there's someone else. And that is very true. I could do that. But then I know it's like, I don't like doing that because I can never talk about the other person. Can't slip up and say something else. Can't really talk about what I did. I can say, oh yeah, I went here today. Oh, okay. It was cool. Like I would say, it would be like, it would be very structured and you wouldn't know. But it just didn't seem like I was able to be in my full realness because I couldn't tell you about like, oh look, I had this great experience. I watched this movie, blah, blah. I couldn't do it. I didn't like it. And that's not was not my goal. But then later I started doing things like, oh, listen, like I said, so Miss Polly, you guys know I am busy at work, but I do also have a um a like class, and then I'm gonna set up a transitional I'm trying to set up a transitional like counseling for people who are monogamous transitioning to poly and how that functions. I have done consultations before and things like that from people who are transitioning together or transitioning from one partner being poly to another partner not being poly, especially in polyandry. It is a process to date men who are or who are more monogamous. It is a struggle and it's a lot of work, and the community behind that is um, needs to be there. So I help people transition into that. So I would like to focus on that one day and a lot more value, but for now I don't. But there are some ways to transition men into that, and then being able to have them overhear conversations is one. Letting the men in your life be able to um, see little things, see how another partner treats you, or they may give you something. It's some people say, oh, well, it's like you're kind of making them feel uncomfortable, but I'm not making them feel uncomfortable. How I guess this, making you be aware that there is another person. So I would do things like that. Slowly, gently, like okay, there's no person. Here's some flowers. I got some flowers. Okay, like slow process. That's how I kind of did it. I think that way it worked. There were times I was very nervous for them to meet in person. But now I feel very. So it still makes me nervous when my new partners meet, or when any of my newer partners have met older partners or people I'm interested in to meet my partners. Um, it's a very nervous feeling because it's like, will they? What would that be like? I don't know, and so it's kind of nerve wracking because I want them to like the person I'm talking to as much as I like them, right? So it makes me nervous sometimes. So but I don't do that too often now, but I used to. Or I talk about the person I'm talking to with my partner to some degree. Now, like I said, some of my partners don't want to know anything unless I'm gonna actually be in a relationship with this person. Other than that, they don't want to know about the other stuff. And that is important too. So compartmentalizing sometimes is very important to people who are transitioning because they may have a limit of how much they can take from you disclosing how much information. Now, I'm an open person. I'll tell you as much as you want to know. Okay. Only thing I don't really talk about when it comes in general is I don't talk about like in detail bed stuff. prior stuff. But if you ask me a question that has to pertain to health, absolutely, that's a question we can answer. As it has to do with um like something. I mean, I don't even want to say anything crazy, but like some people are like, okay, like does that person do that to you? Because that's important to them because they're like, well, I don't really feel comfortable with that. Those are questions we can answer, but like I'm not gonna tell you like how this man walks to the room or and does blah blah. No, wait, no, that's not necessary. That's a private moment that I have with him, and that's our private moment. That's separate from our group. Now, like I said before, if you're a polygamist, this will look different because women move as a community more as a group, and so women would probably tend to have those conversations amongst themselves about what kind of stuff you do in the room or, hey girl, has he tried this? Like they may be more open to those conversations amongst themselves as women than two men. Not saying they don't want to ever talk about it, but um that might not be something they want to talk about or have feel comfortable with. And which is very fine and I believe normal to some degree. Like you don't want to know what they're doing. Like we already gotta share. Like I don't need to know. Like I wouldn't even say share. It's a horrible word. That's what I've been told. They already got to share. Like, yeah, I'm like, no, like we don't have to talk about all that stuff. It's inappropriate to share those kind of things. So I definitely would say some things I keep. I don't talk a lot about it. We don't. It's not free conversation about those intimate things. But like if they ask me, oh, would you like go in general? Did you go out? Yeah, I went out. We had a good time. Like I'm not gonna be like, oh yeah, we were making out in the car for 3 hours. No, I'm not gonna. You don't need no all that. That's too much. so, so no, no, no. But yeah, for the most part, compartmentalizing can be a very useful skill when you're dating more than one person. And also, I think it can be helpful when in any situation, work, like we said, this channel is not just about poly relationships, but monogamy, work relationships, compartmentalizing. I remember watching some people compartmentalize and some they would say, oh, it looks like that person's fake. And I was like, you know what? They're switching their emotions. But it's not a switching emotion, they're switching where they switching their like who they are in that moment. Like I am mad, but I have to go to work and I have a job to do. Right? Yeah, I don't need to be all that. I can be upset still, but I still have to do a job. I still have to perform. And some people they don't like to compare things to work, which I do quite a bit. But okay, let's change it. Like if I'm mad at one of my children, I'm not gonna keep that energy when I go in the kitchen to talk to the other child who's been doing good. Because then what happens is they feel like, if the other one's doing bad, like they're being punished or not getting the best version of you because of what someone else did. And so we want to make sure that those lines, sometimes aren't, overlapping and just be mindful of it. And I'm not saying it never happens, but just try to be mindful of it and try to work on those things. So, I think for the most part, that's what I wanted to share with you guys today by compartmentalizing um, and kind of working on making better communication skills uh, with your partners, working on how you divvy up your time and energy, um, and making sure that everyone gets to at least have a overall great experience in a relationship there with you, whatever that may look like. So yeah, I'm gonna leave you guys with that. I appreciate you guys for checking in with me. Please like and subscribe if you have not done so. I haven't seen too many new subscribers in the last couple months, but I have been posting. But I'm on Instagram. You have to check me out there also. Been working out. Um, Got to be a little stricter on my diet still, but working out, showing a little progress. And we want to kind of get back focused on new things. I even maybe transitioning into a new job. I started thinking smarter and like I don't, some people like, oh, you have to have this really nice, elegant job, which I have a nice job, work at a nice Italian restaurant, and whatever. But like, if I was to lower the I guess like the kind of restaurant it was, would that make me feel like I wasn't as important? But I was like, no, I'm getting paid the same. Like Like, why are we working harder and not smarter? And so I'm trying to get to that place in my life where I'm trying to work smarter, not harder, and be a lot more productive with my outcomes and just really think about that transition right now. So yes, so I hope you guys are doing the same. Feeling good this week, and hopefully we can make another live here soon. But I appreciate you for staying tuned and having a good vibe with me. I want you guys to be blessed in the things you do today. Remember to be positive and that every day is a new day to try something new, be a better you, and be productive. So I will let you guys go and thank you for hanging out with me. Bye.